Hey, New York. It's Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. We're coming your way.
For one night on April 17th, we are going to be hosting a meetup with you guys in New York.
Get more information by heading to our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, and click on the Eventbrite pop-up.
This is your fix.
I'm your host, Stassi Schroeder. Welcome to Tell Me Lies, the official podcast. What's the most unhinged thing of season 3?
Steven, because he's so evil.
I do think he is misunderstood.
You see everyone face consequences.
It's intoxicating. The writers just know how to trick you.
There's always a twist in this show.
Tell Me Lies, the official podcast, January 6th, and stream the new season of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Welcome to Academia Unlocked, a special series from Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, where we take one classical work and explore it through a 4-part literary journey, moving from understanding the text to deep analysis to cultural interpretation, and finally to collective reader meaning.
I'm Jack.
And this is Amy.
We're longtime friends, readers, and co-hosts, and between the two of us, we have over 13 years of academic literary training, including both our bachelor's creative writing and our master's degrees. Our goal with the series is to bring academic-level literary discussion into a space that feels accessible, thoughtful, and genuinely curious, without losing the depth that makes these works so enduring.
What is Academia Unlocked? Academia Unlocked isn't just about talking about a book. It's about learning how to read, interpret, and question it in new ways. Think of this series as stepping into a guided seminar where we explore not only what a story says, but how and why it continues to resonate across time. Each book is broken into 4 episodes, each episode building on the last.
We are currently discussing Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Last week, we discussed Wuthering Heights in an AP English high school level class where we focused on literacy. This week, we are approaching this novel with an advanced analysis, like you would in any college course seminar. Last time, we were also in a hotel and had a heavy case of the giggles. This time, we have our shit together. We are separated because, honestly, recording in person was too much fun. It was too enjoyable.
We had to be put in timeout.
The audience wouldn't be able to handle it. So we are here to continue our college level seminar now. And the goal for this episode is to really move you, the listener and reader, from understanding the text, which is what we did in episode 1, to interpreting meaning and engaging with literary theory. Don't worry, we will coach you through it.
So what you're going to experience today is what we're calling an analysis ladder. Did I enunciate that well enough? Analysis ladder. We're going from interpretation to critical lenses and finally to meta-reflection. Said another way, we're going from what does it mean to how people and scholars analyze the work to why this still matters.
We're also going to have a psychological progression where you guys are going to experience, we're telling you what you're going to experience. You don't really get a choice. This is what you're going to experience. You're going to go from clarity to discovery to insight to relevance. You're going to grow. This is kind of like the place where ideally we take it up a notch. And this is all stuff you can apply to any book. But we're here to start with our first segment, which is really we're going to be reframing questions. And the goal is to move from what happened in this novel. And now we are going to start talking about what is the novel doing and why. This is where we go into a more intellectual explanation and not just a lecture about the book.
And by intellectual explanation, Jack means intellectual exploration.
You know what? I never said intellectual reading, okay? I never promised that. I misread. Amy did a great job trying to fix that for me. We're going to keep it all in. Next time, I'll read it correctly.
That's okay if you don't. Now, let's start with this opening set of questions. If episode 1 helped us understand how Wuthering Heights works, both structurally, emotionally, and within its historical context, today we're going to ask why it works. Why does this novel feel emotionally powerful yet morally unsettling? And why are readers both drawn to and disturbed by Heathcliff?
So, isn't that the question? And the answer is more than just therapy. We're going to get into it. So one of the biggest things with this book is the moral ambiguity and the fact that there are no real morally white or morally black characters. I mean, arguably, Heathcliff is morally black or gray. We talked about this last episode. Go there for that. But essentially, the ambiguity of this is so important and it's so intentional. That is one of those things that you're going to have to clock and then wonder, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening? Bronte also is not helping the readers figure out what's the answer to this, right? And it's one of those moments where it's not meant to have an answer. It's not meant to be a very clear read of who is good and who is bad. Again, that's part of the reason why this story was so interesting for the time and still interesting. It's not going to be a simple, well, I guess he's good, I guess he's bad. I mean, literally, I did that 2 seconds ago. Well, I guess he's kind of gray or morally black. Like, there's no easy categorization here. And the most important part, your discomfort is part of the plan. That's the whole point of this book. That is the design. You're not meant to enjoy this. You're not meant to feel good.
And you're meant to question yourself. This is an early example of what it means to intentionally cause discomfort in a way that I think is more prevalent today, but yet we're still unaccustomed to. Because we expect to feel good or feel sad, but not uncomfortable when we consume media, just as we discussed in last week's episode. And as Jack described now, there's lots of tension between what our expectations are and what is actually happening, where some people might expect Heathcliff to be a romantic hero, which you might have just seen in a movie. He's not really quite that romantic or a hero in this book. Same with Catherine. Catherine might come across as a tragic heroine, but not actually. She's actually very complex in her desires and the way she interacts with people around her. And at the end of the day, this is not the greatest love story ever told. It's about emotional possession and the collapse of identity.
It's so funny how people put him as a romantic hero. I mean, I'm guilty of it. That's like, why is it that in the beginning of the first read, so many people have that same reaction of like, oh my God, you mean you're going to stalk me? You mean you're going to be obsessed with my ghost and try to get vengeance on me? Wow. Talk about love. So keep that in mind, kids, right? It's emotional possession and the collapse of identity because Heathcliff and Kathy found identity through each other. Bookmark this. We'll be right back.
I'm really behind on my walking goal, and so I'm going to my secret drawer in my office to grab my Vionics.
You do have a secret drawer with Vionics. It's funny. I've seen it many times.
I love to wear my Vionic Uptown sneakers everywhere I go, but especially on the sprawling university campus I work at. If I have to endure the changing weather, I might as well be comfortable doing it.
And you are definitely going to be comfortable and stylish because not only are your Vionics so freaking cute, but they have Vionics exclusive biomotion technology, and that's really what sets them apart. They began revolutionizing medical orthotics. Today, they continue to use that science to engineer shoes that leave you feeling energized and confident all day.
My Bionic Uptown sneakers are the only sneakers I don't have to put my custom orthotics into because they've got responsive cushioning and contoured support that makes them perfect for all day, everyday wear.
If people knew how you really do have to insert your custom.
Man, it's such a pain. It's such a pain, but not with Vionic.
Vionic even offers an exclusive 30-day guarantee. Wear them, love them, or return them for a full 30-day refund. But honestly, I think you're going to love them.
Use code BookTok at checkout for 15% off your entire order at VionicShoes.com when you log into your account. It's a one-time use only, so use code BookTalk, BookTalk, wisely.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet. So now we're going to go into segment 2, and we're going to kind of be destabilizing your perspective. And this is all about disruption. And this is going to take you from interpretation to critical thinking. So one of the main things we have to ask ourselves is, who controls the story? And how does that shape meaning? And it's more than just like, oh, Nellie Dean is talking about the story. Lockwood is talking about the story. What information is Nellie Dean getting from Catherine? Like, a lot of it is Catherine retelling things to Nellie Dean, who's retelling things to Lockwood, who's then writing it in his journal. We're getting it like 12th hand at this point. And it's about who's being the narrator, what's their reliability, and most importantly, what perspective is biased. Again, Nellie Dean is biased as hell. Even Lockwood is biased, but even as Nellie Dean is gathering information from Heathcliff, from Kathy, she's getting biased interpretation. And we have to remember her interpretation is being biased on their biases.
And it's really easy to lose sight of this because starting with Lockwood, and we discussed this briefly last week, he's terrible at understanding social cues, interpreting anybody's character at all. He thinks Heathcliff is a capital fellow for being grumpy and broody.
He's our little autistic king.
He really is. And so for him to paint Nellie Dean as a saint early on biases us as readers to believe Nellie Dean and to assume she is unbiased. And so Lockwood's bias influences our bias in favor of Nellie Dean, and to believe what she says about how bad of a character Heathcliff is and how temperamental Catherine is. But is that actually the case?
No, it's it just reminded me, there was like one point where Lockwood was like, at the end, he was like, wow, maybe I could have fallen in love with Kathy. Maybe I could have. It's like, you didn't like her the first time you saw her.
Yeah.
You weren't a fan of her. It wasn't until the end of the story and hearing from her, like, you had one bad night with her.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're just like, maybe I could have fallen in love. Maybe she was the one.
And he's like strangely obsessed. Is it with her portrait or her mother's portrait in his bedroom?
Yeah.
He's a little strange one.
Autistic king. That's what I'm telling you.
The other thing that's important about Lockwood, and again, we touched upon this last week, he is coming from the ton. He is coming from polite society out into the wilderness because he thinks glamping is cool, because he thinks it will rugify him. I don't know why I said that.
Rugify. No, it's a word. We're keeping it. We're tokening
it's a
it.
word. It will make him more cultured to have experienced the outside world. Quite frankly, though, he is here trying to cast meaning upon that which has no logical meaning. He is trying to interpret the chaos that he's encountering through the story of Catherine and Heathcliff. Catherine and Heathcliff and their relationship defies logic, yet he is trying to paint this romantic narrative because he himself fancies himself as a romantic.
Yeah. And you have to make that connection where if Lockwood identifies as a romantic and he's trying to identify as Heathcliff, then therefore Heathcliff must be as romantic as he. He doesn't understand intensity. Like, Lockwood is superficial through and through. Everything he experiences so surface level, and he doesn't understand what intensity is, what possession, what obsession is. So of course in his little brain, he just like, you know what, that's love. That's love right there. I gotta support my man, my Heathcliff, my Shayla. Now we're going to get into Nellie Dean. And Nellie Dean, Love her, hate her. She's our narrator. Well, it kind of rhymed. And she is great because at the end of the day, she's the primary source of information from all of this. Nellie Dean is the one who's telling Lockwood all of this, which means she is the gatekeeper of information. She is the gatekeeper of spinning that information on how it's going to be presented. So that means she is the moral gatekeeper. If we are getting hints of judgment, we're getting hints of judgment against Kathy because that's what she's showing us. And it's the amount of times that she claims neutrality, just like anyone who claims to be neutral, just don't trust them. They're not neutral.
Yeah.
I will tell you my biases so fast. What I find fascinating about her is that Nellie Dean doesn't necessarily represent society or civilization with the wilderness. She doesn't really fit into both. Like, you can almost tell that she wants to fit into society. She wants to fit into this
Thrush cross
Grange. Thank you. Like, you can tell she wants to fit in there. She was happy to go there. But at the same time, she keeps getting drawn back to Wuthering Heights just as much as Kathy was. And it's like she doesn't really fit within that form of wilderness versus civilization. Through that, she is also kind of the one enforcing these Victorian norms in many ways. And Nellie Dean is shaping these events, this whole entire stories. She's telling it to you in a way that is going to align with social expectations. And there is no one that she is harsher with on that than Catherine. Her daughter isn't particularly all that better. I mean, a little bratty girl was writing letters for years, or for months, not years, months, to her cousin lover and was a brat and lied and was also, like, again, another morally gray character. And yet Nellie Dean loves Kathy, and she was so harsh on Catherine. So then you have to say, okay, well, why was she harsh on Catherine? She's probably like, 5 years older, maybe a little bit more, very much older sister relation. And yet she couldn't stand Catherine almost as much as she couldn't stand Heathcliff at the very beginning, but she ends up liking Heathcliff more. So she has a lot of issues when it comes to Catherine.
I think what's also important is Nellie Dean is telling this story to Lockwood, who has just arrived from polite society. So to what extent is Nellie Dean filtering her story to align with what she thinks Lockwood wants to hear? If Lockwood were not a gentleman, if it were Hareton or someone else from the moors, would the story be different?
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is we're never going to know, but I'm going to guess yes, because she's so unreliable.
One of my canon truths in my head, like, these are the things that you cannot convince me otherwise, is that Catherine and Heathcliff had sex before she went and got married. You cannot convince me otherwise. There's no evidence of it. There's no proof of that. But to your point, she's talking to a man of society, a man from Ton. And she just very much, if it was someone who was local from the moors, from a more like rugged terrain, would she have hinted it? I mean, there's no way that Bronte could have necessarily described it, because that would have still been immediate condemning. It might have been too risque for the times. But I like, you can't tell me otherwise. That is one of the things that I believe in my heart, that it is low-key hinted at, very low-key hinted at, that Catherine and Heathcliff had sex before she got married.
Yeah, I think that's what my English teacher in high school convinced me of too.
You look wait a minute, was I?
I don't know if there's actually any evidence of that, but that was always my assumption as well. I think because my English teacher biased me.
The only, and now I shall too. There's no evidence. That's the thing, is like, all we know is that they were running wild, that they had zero supervision, and they were always off together, and they are each other's soul and identity and everything along the lines. And they're both wild, right? There's nothing polite and there's nothing society about them. So why would this be the one thing that they decide to hold back on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me, it's like a logical next step of like, of course they would. And also another reason why it might have been so hard for the two of them to let each other go is that obsession with your first love.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And why Heathcliff was so hurt that he left.
My other truth that is not real. In my version of the book, when she goes looking for him in the middle of the night, she finds him, they have sex, and then he leaves her when she's asleep. Because, you know, when he leaves and then she goes running after him and she's gone all night.
Yeah.
And then she comes back and she's really distraught.
Yeah.
In my truth is that she finds him, they like have sex somewhere, falls asleep, and then he leaves her. And that is mine.
I can see that.
And that is my truth. And it will not be told otherwise. But I mean, at the end of the day, no matter the story, it's always filtered. You will never get a story. I mean, never say never, but I promise you it's not going to be an interesting one that gives you absolute objective truth. And when you're getting a story like this, it's a filter of coffee grounds.
Okay.
It was the moment I realized I'm like, I don't drink coffee and I don't know necessarily. I know you put a filter in it and I know you put it and then the water goes through. I get the principle of coffee. You also could say earth. The earth filters water.
Yeah, it's true. You could say that.
Take that, Geology 101.
Cue dramatic music and an ad.
We are going to so many book conventions the next couple months, and do I need a whole new wardrobe?
I think so, because I'm not prepared for weather in New York.
Honestly, I am not about the fast fashion. I am all about Quince and how they prefer quality over quantity.
Quince makes high-quality wardrobe staples using premium fabrics, like 100% silk and organic cotton.
They even have a lightweight cotton cashmere sweater that's perfect for the changing seasons, especially in New York. And they have amazing spring colors, so I'll be able to be very versatile with all of the cute sweaters they have.
Quince clothing is consistently rated 4.5 to 5 stars by thousands of customers. Real people wearing these pieces every day actually love them. And honestly, they're better than some of my favorite expensive brands.
I personally love my boyfriend sweater that I got last year, and I still wear it all the time. And I'm sad that it's going to be warm, so I guess I'm going to have to find another sweater.
Stop waiting to build the wardrobe you actually want. You don't need a closet full of options. You just need pieces that work for you.
Right now, go to quince.com/BookTok for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full year to wear it and love it. And you will.
Quince is now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last.
Go to quince.com/BookTok, BookTalk, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/BookTok. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. We're next going to move into talking about the landscape, which we did touch upon about landscape being used and weather being used often in Gothic literature. We've talked about it in the sense of Thrushcross Grange representing society versus Wuthering Heights representing uncivilized people, aka Heathcliff. But let's look at this through a psychological lens. One of the core concepts of, I think, Gothic literature, I think of literature in general at this time, is that weather and landscape reflects emotional states of our characters. So, for example, Wuthering Heights, it's wild, there's a lot of storms and marshes, and that is reflective of the emotional chaos and, quite frankly, emotional energy that Heathcliff and Catherine bring to the world. On the flip side, we have Thrushcross Grange, which is more controlled. It is orderly, it is organized. And when we think of it from a Victorian perspective, it's about restraint, it's about repression, it's about no matter what your desires are, you have to act according to propriety.
Which is sad because Isabella kissed Heathcliff very scandalously before they were even engaged. And it was on Thrushcross Grange property. He is invading their polite society.
Right. And that's kind of one of the, I think, ironies of this story is that Isabella, who is a model citizen of Victorian culture, is the one taking the uncivilized action. But the fault is placed on Heathcliff because he is the wild thing that has invaded the civilized space.
Yeah.
So even though Isabella acted on agency, and quite frankly, that's her action to own, Heathcliff is going to own the problem because he's problematic in a lot of ways.
And try to kill her dog.
And that
too. I think when we talk about like a landscape and through a psychoanalytical lens, let's look at The Notebook. I mean, I said something the other couple episodes ago or about The Notebook, and you were like, well, if people even see it anymore because Gen Z might not have seen it. And then I felt very called out about my age. But that scene of like, I wrote to you every day for a year. I don't know if that's how he sounds. Like, it's been a long time since I watched the movie. But like, it's raining, it's pouring, they're in the rain, it's mimicking their own emotions. It's very common. It's used oftentimes. It doesn't mean it's any bad or any less. Gothic books will lean into it way more. It'll lean into this very sunny, lovely, Thrushcross Grange is so amazing. But then, you know, Wuthering Heights is the spooky and, you know, what happens when they get caught in the moors? What happens when they're lied about getting caught in the moors, right? So there's a lot of books and media will use the location as a sign. Anytime you'll have a character in a book described as like the light is shining behind them, it's like you want us to know something. Maybe we like them. Maybe maybe they're important. I don't know. It's just like a good, I think environment is one of the fastest, easiest ways to kind of find an interpretation. And then if you're ever, I don't know, want to be like a little dick about it, you can be like, what if it all meant the opposite? You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to fight to say why rain meant good, you know what I mean? Like, you could say rain means cleansing, like in the Notebook situation, it represented their own emotions and their heightened emotions. But raining is cleansing away the lies and the deceit for years. See what I just did there?
Boom.
Analysis, yo.
But in the case of Catherine and Wuthering Heights, often interpretations are attached to the weather, especially the violent weather, as being reflective of emotional distress, and emotional crisis. And so that is the case, I would say, with Catherine, including in the movie interpretations.
Yeah.
A great example is the proposal scene in Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version of 2005. In the book, it happens inside, but in the movie, it happens in pouring rain.
Oh, so good.
And why is
So
that?
good.
It's because of Elizabeth's emotional distress.
Yeah. It's such a good movie.
It's such a good movie.
You're right. I should watch it again. I think that's a great, that's Netflix apparently just dropped a teaser trailer of their Pride and Prejudice. I haven't seen it, the teaser.
So exciting.
I just know people are going to be ready to hate and love it. And I need the listeners to know I'm going to love it whatever, regardless. I eat that shit up. I even liked the Dakota Johnson
Persuasion. I did too.
I thought it was funny.
I liked the Anya Taylor-Joy version of Emma.
Loved it. For me, adaptations of Jane Austen is like airplane food. I will love no matter what you give me. And every once in a while, you'll be like, wow, that was actually a really good meal for this flight. But no matter what, I just very much enjoy airplane food.
You're one of the few.
I also like hospital food.
Another one. One of the few.
Let's advance this, right? Let's take this up a notch. The two houses, Thrushcross. It was
Thrush Cross.
Isn't there a rash called thrush? Does that have to do with?
I think it's what you get when you've had too many antibiotics.
Why do I imagine it has to do with vagina or penis, like genitalia? Okay. I mean, was that done on purpose? That's what I want to know. So let's look at the two different houses and the fact that each of them represent something different. You have instinct, that's Wuthering Heights, versus restraint, that's the Grange. And I feel like those are very, I don't want to say obvious, but like when you start thinking about it, you can start thinking about these examples. We've already listed some. I guarantee that if you reread this or if you just are thinking about it, you can see that. And also, I bet I haven't seen every interpretation in book or movie of this, but I guarantee you it'll be similar. It'll be very similar where the houses are unkempt versus kempt. You have servants. You don't have a lot of servants.
Yeah. I think another example that helps illustrate this is Linton, who is Heathcliff's son. When he first arrives to the Grange, he's only there for a couple hours a day, maybe?
Yeah.
And he is, because his mother brought him up, to be polite, even though he's a little bit of I was going to say crybaby, but that's probably mean. He's a child and he's upset that his mother is dead.
Fine.
But then he gets taken to Wuthering Heights. And so this product of polite society, of what should be a gentleman, allows his baser instincts, his manipulative personality, his just deceitfulness to override what he has learned. And that becomes his character. And so what might have been restrained had he stayed at Thrushcross Grange is taken over because bad personality traits are allowed to roam free at Wuthering Heights.
He hasn't been. I was about to say like he wasn't spanked, but then I'm like, oh no, he probably was hit a lot. Okay.
Oh.
Actually, I feel like they hint that he's never hit, but that he goes through a lot more psychological torture from his father. Because
I don't know.
Heathcliff says things like, I can't touch you. Like he knows that if he hit him, it'll be like he probably wouldn't survive it. But at the same time, he is so afraid of his father.
Yeah.
It is visceral. And if you want to go more, like kind of poke into that idea more of the two houses, you have freedom versus social conformity. And I could argue both for both houses. You could argue that Wuthering Heights is so not free. And you have the Grange where Isabella's from and she chose to leave and that she found freedom. You can argue that Kathy grew up with far more freedom than Linton. Social conformity is like conforming to the abusive cycle that was going on. I like this one in particular because you can go back and forth and make arguments for it. And that's part of literature. That's part of this level of analysis, is that even with instinct versus restraint, I can make an argument saying this Victorian side actually will represent instinct and the other side represents restraint. And, give me a minute and I could think of some things. But that's where if you find opposites, you can make a point for either. You're doing your analysis then.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it if even from Catherine's point of view, she probably felt freedom at Thrush Cross Grange originally because she was so catered to, right? And so therefore the restraint came from Wuthering Heights being socially brought down by its image, by her, family's lack of money, by everything else. So where we might normally say Wuthering Heights represents freedom, Catherine might not agree. But Heathcliff might agree. So I think it depends on the character you're examining as well.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Are we ready to look at all this from a different lens?
Always. I was waiting for people to say yes. God, speak up louder, guys. I can't hear you.
So we're going to go through our top 3 favorite, as you're all familiar with or will become familiar with in our new season. We have the feminist lens, we've got the Marxist lens, and we have the psychoanalytical lens, which we use a lot in our Silver Flames season. To start off with, Jack, would you like to start with the feminist lens?
I love a feminist lens. Boy, do I. And we're going to be looking at this through gender norms. Not that's what we believe in, but it's the premise of the feminist lens. Not the premise. Give me wiggle room, guys. Just giving you the proximity. Anyway, so one of the main questions we have to say is 2 questions we have to ask ourselves. What agency does Catherine really have? They make it seem like she gets to walk around and boss everyone around and everyone caters to Catherine. Again, that's Nellie Dean telling that story, but how much does she actually have? How much control, how much agency is really within her grasp? And then you have to also ask yourself, how does marriage function economically? And the second question I feel like is almost like it's an easy one. Sorry, guys. But you can immediately see where Catherine flat out said she can't marry Heathcliff because Edgar can bring her more comfort. He's safer. He is the safer choice. And then you also see the way that Heathcliff maneuvers his son and Kathy and forcing them to get married so that he can get more property, right? And the timeline of getting them married before Edgar dies. So there is a lot of function to marriage in a more exchange, in a non-romantic way. And then so when you keep that in mind and you ask yourselves, what agency does Catherine really have? The answer is none. She does not. Her family does not have money. She is in this falling apart house. She doesn't have any servants. I mean, neither do I, but somehow she'll survive. And the only way to keep things for her to have safety is to be with a man that won't hurt her.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're seeing this from Nellie Dean's perspective, she makes it seem like Catherine's the one who wanted to pursue Edgar, who wanted to take advantage of his money, who very happily went in that direction.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Kathy, whom Nellie Dean has helped raise, Kathy's a victim. Kathy is trapped. Can't it not be that way also for Catherine? Can't Catherine also be a victim of circumstance?
Yeah, I mean, what was her option? You know what I mean? She found a man who has money to marry, who was in love with her and didn't seem violent.
Yeah.
That is the best that she could have asked for in that time.
Yeah.
In that society. There was no other, we hadn't seen any other men roll up at this timeline. And we're not even giving some benefit of the doubt. They had known each other for years.
Right.
It's not like Kathy or Catherine meets Edgar and then, 5 months later decides to marry him for his money. They did become friends. They did know each other for years before they got married or became engaged and then got married. So, I feel like it's not giving her enough credit of saying, well, you did choose someone that you knew to some extent you were compatible with.
Right. And, would treat you well, which in Victorian society was not always a guarantee.
It's not even a guarantee now.
It's true.
You're only hoping for the best. And, Victorian society where women really did not have much on their side to find safety. Isabella leaves And we don't know how she covers herself or how she's able to afford anything, but we can probably guess she had some money to her name. Catherine didn't have that. So but we don't get that empathy because we're looking at things through Nellie Dean's eyes. Nellie Dean is not a girl's girl. Nellie Dean does not like Catherine. And I bet you there's a lot of just angry feminine rage inside there. There's feels like a jealousy or something, or maybe Nellie Dean is jealous of, hold on, here we go. If Nellie Dean is kind of someone who can go both in the societal and the wild, but never able to really be one or the other, like she's not able to fully embrace, Catherine is really capable and allowed to fully embrace both. Nellie Dean is not. So you can argue there's jealousy there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, Catherine is favored by everybody.
Yeah.
She's favored by Edgar, by Isabella, by Heathcliff. Of course, there's jealousy there.
Yeah.
Nellie's not the center of anybody's attention.
Commercial break, but make it literary.
I'm preparing to get married, which means I'm thinking a lot about what it means to merge finances. And I think I'm going with Chime.
Chime isn't just another banking app. They unlock smarter banking for everyday people with products like MyPay, giving you access to up to $500 of your paycheck anytime and getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Some of these old banks still don't do this.
We're at Romantasy BookCon, and I don't get paid for another 2 days. I could really use Chime right now.
I don't get paid for another 2 days too. I'm really sad it's not stopping me from buying everything, but it is also making me want to switch to Chime.
Because they don't have overdraft fees, minimum balance fees, or monthly fees.
You can also earn up to 3% APY on savings. That's 7 times higher than a traditional bank.
It's also rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service because they have real humans 24/7.
And with the Chime card, it's the new way to build credit history with your own money and get rewarded every single day.
There's no annual fees, no interest, and no strings attached. Who can resist that?
Chime is not just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today.
It just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head to chime.com/booktalk. That's chime.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/fees info. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.
Sleep is important to everyone, but I am bipolar, and sleep is one of the most important things that I can do to protect not just my mental health, but my physical health. I always strive to get around 8 hours of sleep a night. Honestly, I have to shoot from 8 to 10 hours a night. And it is so important for me to know that everything in my body is helping me get that balanced sleep that I really need.
For me, the big shift was realizing that sleep isn't just about hours. It's the foundation for everything: performance, mood, focus, recovery, even how you age.
The part that surprised me is that you can't fully understand your sleep without looking at your lab tests. If your sleep is off, your results will likely show it with elevated inflammation and shifts in glucose and cholesterol. And when sleep improves, that's going to show too.
That's what I appreciate about Function. It gives you real data so you know what's happening inside your body. Sleep isn't just a habit, it's biology. And if you want to look deeper to see whether you're improving it or troubleshooting how to improve it, you have to measure it.
I have my first appointment with Function to get my blood drawn for next week. What I did appreciate about it, though, is that they are making sure that it's coordinated around my period. They weren't just like, come here, give us blood. It was like, hey, let's make sure you get the best results possible.
Be like Jack and own your health. Start by understanding what's happening beneath the surface.
Function gives you access to 160 plus lab tests each year, including advanced markers for heart health, inflammation, stress, hormones, toxins, and more for $365 a year.
Learn more and join Function using our link. Visit www.functionhealth.com/booktalk or use gift code BookTalk25, that's BOOKTALK 25, for a $25 credit toward your membership. We next move into the classical version of the Marxist lens, which is about class stratification. And really, at the end of the day, what causes the rift between Catherine and Heathcliff is their class differences. Are there class differences? And the fact that, like Jack just said, Catherine's able to elevate herself and move between class hierarchies. She's able to marry a gentleman. She's able to marry into money. Heathcliff, as a probably bastard or nobody, it's because I've just read Cassian saying that, bastard born. Anyway, because he is, an orphan, because nobody knows his lineage or who his family is, he has nothing to give Catherine. And therefore, that causes the rift between them. Catherine literally has to marry Edgar to keep her family fed. Heathcliff, being classless, being powerless, goes off and disappears for 3 years to amass money and property so that he can raise himself to the same level as Catherine. And what he does is he uses class, he uses money, he uses property as a means of revenge, as gaining vengeance over the hurt, the emotional hurt that he's received from Catherine. That is why he forces his son Linton to marry Kathy so that he can continue to amass Thrushcross Grange and the inheritance as the ultimate fuck you to Edgar and Catherine.
He doesn't even spend all the money. It's
He
not
doesn't.
it's not like he gets all the properties and goes, haha, I'm going to spend it all. He's great at savings.
Yeah.
Wonderful 401k. And, doesn't even get to enjoy it.
No, he doesn't. But from the, Edgar Linton point of view, especially during the Victorian era, your inheritance and what you pass down to your children was, it's generational wealth. It's what it means to be part of society and to have a place in society. It's what old money comes from. And all of that was taken essentially from Edgar Linton's family by Heathcliff. And so from a Victorian perspective, this is the ultimate fuck you, I'm going to shit on your grave.
Yeah, so true. So now let's get into a psychoanalytical lens. And this is where you can approach this book through a different lens, different rose-tinted glasses. And one of the core themes is the fusion of identity. Catherine and Heathcliff, I am one, whatever souls are made of, ours are the same, right? However you say that quote. There is, even between Kathy and Catherine, her own mother, there is, their identity is very much fused. They are the same in so many ways, and history repeats itself in so many ways. The fact that she ends up with Hareton, she ends up with Hareton. And even though that's not Heathcliff's son, Heathcliff laments that that's not his son. He identifies with Hareton. He even says he likes Hareton. Hareton even likes Heathcliff. It's a very trauma bonded, complicated relationship there. Hareton is the son that he wished he had, and he vocalizes it. And then there's a reason why Hareton, who is Heathcliff in many ways, ends up with Kathy. History is repeating itself. There is a fusion of identity. And with them is, with the second generation, you have the trauma repetition. You have the, generational trauma going on. And by Hareton and Kathy being able to find happiness with each other, find love, they're breaking that repetition of trauma. What I love about it is that, are they breaking the trauma, or did Heathcliff just die and you got them at a nice moment?
It also paints a sad picture where Heathcliff and his progeny had to be cut out of the picture for a healthy-ish or a happy relationship to occur, which says, it casts some sort of judgment on Heathcliff, whether or not Emily Bronte intended it to. But Hareton does smack Kathy around, and he is like, I'm terrible, but this is the only way I've been taught to live.
Yeah.
So there is a question of, is the domestic abuse continued? We don't know. We catch them at a moment of bliss. There's no guarantees.
Yeah. And how much of, again, if things are repeating themselves, if there's like this constant fusion of identity and like patterns repeating, right? How much of their quote unquote love is that desire for possession, the possession of freedom? Maybe that's their possession. Heathcliff had the desire to possess Catherine. Catherine desired to possess Heathcliff. Catherine also desired to possess Edgar Linton and kind of have a little bit of everything. Honestly, I do feel like she gets a bad rep. She never cheated on Edgar. She also was very honest about things. Like there was a moment where Isabella is like kissing Heathcliff and she's like, nah, like you don't be with her. You're just trying to get to me by doing that to her. And like, girl, you're an idiot if you think that he likes you. And then Edgar comes in and Edgar gets mad at her and she's like, whoa, I was on your side. I told him to stay the hell away from Isabella. I feel like I could make an argument that Catherine didn't do much wrong in this book.
She is looked down upon because she expresses what she wants.
She's the most honest character.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely shit upon. And it's so unfortunate because I respect the hell where she was like, yeah, no, I love Edgar. I can't promise you it's going to be a forever love, but like it's the same. Like I do love him now. I don't love him as much as I love Heathcliff, but like, do I even love Heathcliff? Like we're the same person, like, you know, but that's also useless. She made a thought, like she married Edgar, eyes open, like thought out choice.
Yeah. And I think what is also shitty is that Heathcliff couldn't respect that.
Yeah. Other than her being bratty, like she doesn't have the best personality, but you know, I actually think she's funny. She doesn't have the best personality, but other than that, I mean, I'm sure someone's gonna be like, hey, remember the time she does this horrific thing? And I'll be like, oh yeah, right. I forgot about that. For the most part, I think she's the least morally gray of these characters, potentially. Not saying that she's innocent. I'm not going to die on the Catherine Hill here, but she gets a bad rep and we get it because of Nellie Dean.
Yep. So dovetailing off of this idea that history is repeating itself, we ultimately have a book that's broken down into two narrative arcs that are actually the same length. If you look at it, they're the same number of chapters. There's breaks at bookends by Lockwood's perspective. There's a middle break with Lockwood's perspective. I remember this distinctly from class about like how perfectly constructed it is.
I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
And so what we're dealing with is Generation 1 with Heathcliff and Catherine's obsession with each other up until Catherine's death. And then on the other side, we have young Kathy and her relationship with Linton and Hareton, and how is it obsession or is it repair? Is it healing wounds? I don't know. It is a question I think a lot of people are left with. Is the ending hopeful? Or are Kathy and Hareton just watered down versions who are a little bit less destructive than the generation before?
And that's not necessarily for us to answer. I do have one. But like that's something where you yourself, listener, reader, would be the one to kind of come to that conclusion. Because what you've done is you've deconstructed everything. You laid out the premise in episode 1 of like what this book's about. You are deconstructing questions and then you're reconstructing it with this question. And so you have that moment of like, okay, well then now that I've done all this, does this book have a different meaning? And I think it does. I feel like this book is absolutely about there's no true hope. You know, it's just slightly less chaotic. I feel like there's a reason why we didn't get a real climax. There was no big end. Heathcliff does not die in any remotely dramatic way. He just dies.
Yeah.
He doesn't even die anywhere interesting. Like he just goes. And feel like that is meant to show like there was no big bad. Heathcliff wasn't the one big bad. It's a whole system. And my personal perspective is like we just got him at a good moment.
Yeah, I agree. There's also the question of Heathcliff. Is he dying because he's seen Kathy? Or is he dying of a broken heart because Lockwood saw Catherine, and Lockwood sees Catherine's ghost at the beginning of the book, and Heathcliff wants to, but can't. And he spirals, and he basically forgets to eat and dies of malnourishment, I think.
I like to imagine he died because of the ghost.
Yeah, I do too.
Because again, the time frame of this book isn't long. You have Lockwood who comes in, he gets stranded, he gets sick. That's all, like the initial part is only a couple days, weeks, maybe if I'm being generous.
Yeah.
And then he's gone for a couple months, 2 months.
Yeah.
Comes back, and by that point, Heathcliff has died from
Already dead.
died from malnourishment. So it's like, the whole story takes over the course of like 18 years, but this instant is like 2 months, really. And Catherine shows her ghost to Lockwood, and that spirals Heathcliff out, and then he's like, no, me. And again, other things you can't tell me otherwise. I feel like he sleeps with her corpse at one point.
Probably.
Like, I think it said that he dug her up and she was just as perfect as when she was like when they put her in. And then like some time had passed, and I wanted to be like, I don't think so. And I feel like Nellie Dean even says like there's some nights that he kind of like when she first died stayed with her body. Wouldn't put it past him. And
not at all.
We didn't even touch on the supernatural element in this book.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go through this book through a whole paranormal lens, right? Like the whole supernatural element of this. Gothic is very oftentimes associated with the supernatural. And that is a big part of this book. When a lot of interpretations, like one of the big conversations, and we'll talk about it next week more, is the Jacob Elordi, Margot Robbie one. They're like, they got rid of the whole supernatural. That's the whole point of this book. And it's like, it's not the whole point. I mean, you don't need it. It's a great part of the mystique and the lore of Gothic literature, but I don't feel like it's the most like critical part.
I agree. I think it's a good inciting incident.
Yeah.
But maybe not entirely necessary for what I think the story is meant to achieve.
Agreed.
And what is the story meant to achieve? I think it's really supposed to call into question what we value about romance, what we define as romantic. And I think that's valid even in our today culture and why this story endures. Think about it. We've got dark romance. We've got paranormal romance. We've got morally gray characters. We have anti-heroes that we romanticize in movies. Even music.
Yeah.
Emotional intensity is often mistaken for love. But is it actually love? Is it, toxic relationship? This is a toxic relationship. Many of us have experienced toxic relationships, whether that be with a partner or a friend or a family member. Being emotionally intense does not make a healthy relationship.
No.
It can't. It can be part of a healthy relationship. It is not inherently meaning a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. So, Amy didn't say, but we're in segment 6 now. This is us reflecting and bringing it back to the modern era. But yes, it has inspired so much. And that's why when you have certain themes of books that just don't shift, and you can interpret things in different ways, you can look at, try to find other themes that may not be as big, but the obsession, it's not even up for interpretation. He's obsessed with her ghost for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like everything's up for interpretation. But like core things of the obsession, that there is like generational trauma, like these are the things that make Wuthering Heights Wuthering Heights. The uncomfy feeling, that is Wuthering Heights, which is why next week when we get into the topic of all of these books and movies and other variations, you can have great versions, but it's not going to be Wuthering Heights. It comes back to one of my friends I was like, Heathcliff and Catherine aren't in love. It's an obsession. I mean, they could be in love, but it's not about love. It's about their obsession. And she was like, that's subjective. And I'm like, not really. That's
not really.
No, like that's just the book.
I'm excited to talk about it because what I think movies and media do so well that I think is easy to overlook in books is the intensity of the landscape of the weather and how that correlates to what's happening on screen. It's like Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi's characters are addicted to violence in terms of like the weather, in terms of how they act with each. I say that hyperbolically, but there's an intensity on screen that you can overlook in a book that I don't think you can overlook when it's visually in front of you.
Yeah. And people could argue that intensity still doesn't even capture the intensity of Wuthering Heights. And I feel like that's kind of the struggle is that and that's kind of been the ongoing thing that no movie has been able to capture Wuthering Heights, that not a single man of color has been casted, and we'll get more into that next week. But it's that intensity. It's the fact that this is a core theme, generational trauma, intensity, obsession, and can you visually represent that? And that's for us to discuss next week. That's a next week us, or I don't know when we're recording it, in a couple days us issue. But ultimately, what we really want you guys to just kind of walk away from this graduate level seminar, I've just titled it. You guys have your English 101 degree now. If there's one idea that you want to carry away, like we were saying, from Wuthering Heights, is that Bronte isn't asking us to admire this intensity. It's not meant to be glamorized. It's not meant to be desired at all. Again, try to kill a dog. What Bronte is asking us is to question why we confuse emotional possession with love. Why is that even happening? And that's not something for us to answer. That would be like English 102. You know what I mean? And that's not on the seminar course for us. So that's a different elective. That's a different class you have to sign up for. It's posted as, maybe next semester you can catch it.
Maybe next semester.
Yeah.
And really, she wrote it at a time in the 1800s when people were confusing this. 200 years later, we're still confusing it.
Yep.
We still get it wrong. Look at all those movie interpretations over the last 40 years. Yeah, that's all I got.
I know. Anything else, like everything I want to keep saying is like for that conversation. Like I'm like, I have more to say, but I'm just like, no, we'll leave it. And you guys can tell us in the comments, and we'll, come back next week and we'll discuss Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie and
all those who came before.
All of those who came. I mean, not all, because we're only going to do so much, but yes, that's
some of those who came before.
Exactly. Thank you for listening to this special episode of Academia Unlocked with Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Come back next week where we are going to continue our Wuthering Heights discussion with books in media.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com or on your Spotify app, and we might feature your feedback in a future episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world. Bye.
Bye.
We are going to so many book conventions the next couple months, and do I need a whole new wardrobe?
I think so, because I'm not prepared for weather in New York.
Honestly, I am not about the fast fashion. I am all about Quince and how they prefer quality over quantity.
Quince makes high-quality wardrobe staples using premium fabrics, like 100% silk and organic cotton.
They even have a lightweight cotton cashmere sweater that's perfect for the changing seasons, especially in New York. And they have amazing spring colors, so I'll be able to be very versatile with all of the cute sweaters they have.
Quince clothing is consistently rated 4.5 to 5 stars by thousands of customers. Real people wearing these pieces every day actually love them. And honestly, they're better than some of my favorite expensive brands.
I personally love my boyfriend sweater that I got last year, and I still wear it all the time. And I'm sad that it's going to be warm, so I guess I'm going to have to find another sweater.
Stop waiting to build the wardrobe you actually want. You don't need a closet full of options. You just need pieces that work for you.
Right now, go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full year to wear it and love it. And you will.
Quince is now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last.
Go to quince.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. I'm preparing to get married, which means I'm thinking a lot about what it means to merge finances. And I think I'm going with Chime.
Chime isn't just another banking app. They unlock smarter banking for everyday people with products like MyPay, giving you access to up to $500 of your paycheck anytime and getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Some of these old banks still don't do this.
We're at Romantasy BookCon, and I don't get paid for another 2 days. I could really use Chime right now.
I don't get paid for another 2 days too. I'm really sad it's not stopping me from buying everything, but it is also making me want to switch to Chime.
Because they don't have overdraft fees, minimum balance fees, or monthly fees.
You can also earn up to 3% APY on savings. That's 7 times higher than a traditional bank.
It's also rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service because they have real humans 24/7.
And with the Chime card, it's the new way to build credit history with your own money and get rewarded every single day.
There's no annual fees, no interest, and no strings attached. Who can resist that?
Chime is not just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today.
It just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head to chime.com/booktalk. That's chime.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/feesinfo. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.